What's poppin', y'all? Welcome back to another episode of NBA Weekly. I'm your host, Pee Wee the Plug, and in today's episode, we're going to be going over trade targets for every NBA team. First and foremost, shout out to Greg Schwartz over there at Bleacher Report for another fire article. I'm itching, I'm scratching for some type of trades. We're less than a month away from the trade deadline, and we've had, one trade, the Noah Vonleh trade. Every team right now thinks they have a chance at the playoffs because of the play-in, so nobody wants to be sellers. Everybody's trying to be buyers. So hopefully, over the next 4 weeks, we not only get player movement, but we get big-time player movement. There's a couple of teams on the verge of needing to blow it up, retool, rebuild, and hopefully they accept that at the trade deadline and we get some very, very, very big trades. Without further ado, sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, and let's get ready for the show. You dig? First, we have the Atlanta Hawks. It says the Hawks' trade targets are Goran Dragic, TJ McConnell, and DeLon Wright. Even with DeJounte Murray on board, the Hawks could use another playmaker and rank dead last in the NBA with 55.2% assist rate. There's no way a team with this much talent should rank 22nd overall offensively, and injecting another ball handler into this roster could help bring out best in the players like John Collins, DeAndre Hunter, and Clint Capella. Be it Dragic, McConnell, or Wright, any of the veteran point guards in this list will help push the Hawks back into the playoff picture. I agree. I think when you look at the roster and the starting lineup at full health, DeJounte, Trae Young, DeAndre Hunter, John Collins, even though we don't know how long he's going to be on the roster, Clint Capella, off the bench, you then have a big and a Kongwu. You have A.J. Griffin, who I think is giving you great flashes in this rookie year. You have Jalen Johnson, and you have Justin Holiday, Bogdanovic. So the only thing that's missing is a veteran presence at the point guard position coming off of this bench. And I think when it comes to playoff basketball, you're definitely going to need a table setter, a defender, or a bucket getter at the point guard position coming off this bench, because staggering the minutes of DeJounte and Trae Young is more easier said than done. Another name I'll add to that list is Alec Burks, just because he's a combo guard that can maybe play with both Trae and DeJounte. But those three targets for them at the point guard position as backups, I think is great. Next, we have the Boston Celtics. Their trade targets: Mo Bamba, Kenrich Williams, and Zach Collins. Owners of the NBA's best record at 28-12 overall, the Celtics don't need to make any big moves at the deadline. Still, adding one more front court piece for depth would be ideal, especially as 36-year-old Al Horford is still averaging over 30 minutes a game. Bamba brings floor spacing and shot blocking. Williams can defend multiple positions and is shooting 43% from three, and Collins is having a sneaky good season for the San Antonio Spurs. All three will become additions to Boston's bench and help what's already become one of the best overall rosters in the NBA. Mo Bamba would be ideal for Boston. I think Mo Bamba has been linked to Boston for the last couple of years. I don't know if it'll take much to get him now that Bol has kind of emerged out there in Orlando and they have such a front court log jam. Think maybe you can get him for something that isn't overwhelming. I also think Kenrich Williams, his clock in OKC has kind of run out, and he's a guy that's been rumored to playoff teams over the last couple of years as well. He would also fit there, and Zach Collins is having a very sneaky season, but I would prefer Kenrich Williams or Mo Bamba for the defense and the three-point shooting and the floor spacing they can add. But like I said, Boston is already one of the top teams in the NBA. They have a very, very great roster. Adding Malcolm Brogdon, we haven't even seen Gallinari. Won't see him this year because of the injury. So adding one of those guys to fill that void and only add more depth, Boston could really be the finals favorite. Next up, we got the Brooklyn Nets. Their trade targets: Jakob Poeltl, Kelly Olynyk, and Jay Crowder. Outside of Nick Claxton, Brooklyn doesn't have a lot of reliable big men to turn to, which would be a problem should they run into bigger teams like the Milwaukee Bucks or Cleveland Cavaliers in the playoffs. Poeltl is a good interior scorer, defender, and willing ball mover who would blend well with Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and others. Olynyk is also a talented passer who can bring a new dynamic to the front court with his outside shooting, which would be especially important if Ben Simmons continues to ignore the three-point line, which he probably will. Crowder gives Brooklyn a playoff-tested wing who can play and defend either forward position and should be well rested while being away from the Phoenix Suns all season. If the Nets can weather Kevin Durant's MCL sprain and add one more piece at the deadline, this is a championship caliber team. I honestly believe if they were to add a Jakob Poeltl, this team would be the favorite for me to come out of the East. Jakob Poeltl fits in perfectly. He's rebounding. He's a dirty work player. He can pass from the elbows. He can roll to the rim for buckets. I love the season that Jakob Poeltl is having out there in San Antonio. I think is going under the radar. He's become, to me, one of the most underrated, if not the most underrated big in the game. I love the point about Kelly Olynyk's three-point shooting with Ben Simmons. That gives you another dynamic to have some flexibility and some different type of lineups. Obviously, Jay Crowder is going to complement any playoff team that's trying to make some type of push. But I love the Jakob Poeltl one. If they can get that one done, I think that gives them an extreme edge, especially when you look at the teams like Boston and Cleveland out there in the East. That would be a very big move for Brooklyn. Charlotte, their trade targets are Cam Reddish, Sadiq Bey, and Rui Hachimura, and what's become a lost season for the Hornets, shopping their own veterans while trying to bring in some young talent with upside is the best path forward now. Reddish clearly doesn't have a future with the New York Knicks. That's just crazy to me. Yet he still possesses tantalizing potential on both ends of the ball and averaged 10.3 points per game in his 8 starts. Bey has bounced in and out of Detroit starting lineup this season and has good size and shooting ability. Playing alongside LaMelo Ball could unlock his ceiling. I love that fit. Hachimura is a former top 10 pick who's fallen out of the starting lineup completely on a now veteran-heavy Washington Wizards team. The Hornets could try to get a look at the 24-year-old before he becomes a restricted free agent this summer. I love their trade targets, but I specifically love the Rui Hachimura idea. I think they have enough veterans out there in Charlotte that would be intriguing to the Wizards because the Wizards are obviously trying to make a playoff push. So you might be able to get Rui Hachimura for something low. And again, you'll be able to bring him in, put him in a new situation, allow him to start and get back to being that player that has shown flashes in his early career, and then make a decision in restricted free agency to maybe give him a low contract and bring him in for an extended time. I don't think Rui Hachimura is in a position to command anything that's too crazy of a contract. And if he wants to bet on himself, you just get him for one more year. But I think he would fit there better than what we've seen in Washington because there is a lot more opportunity. And he's a guy that LaMelo could boost up as well, just like the other two in Cam Reddish and Sadiq Bey. So I think this is the route they go. Hopefully they go that route because the Hornets have been super reluctant to play young talent this season. But all three of those names fit the type of path they should be going into this upcoming season or this upcoming summer. Next, we got the Chicago Bulls. Their trade targets, DeAndre Ayton. I love it. I love it. I love it. Jay Crowder and Alec Burks. Are the Bulls still trying to compete for a title, or are they going to shift to a rebuild following a below 500 start to the season? Chicago will be one of the most interesting teams to watch at the deadline either way. Ayton gives the Bulls the opportunity to go in either direction, as the fifth-year center is averaging 17.5 points, 9.8 rebounds, and shooting 59.2% this season, yet is still just 24 years old. If Chicago doesn't believe in Nikola Vucevic as the team's franchise center or doesn't want to pay him this summer, Ayton could be the answer instead. Assuming Chicago doesn't blow things up, adding some two-way wings around DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine will help an offense and defense stuck in the middle of the NBA pack. Crowder and Burks could be perfect fits around the stars here. I don't like these trade targets. I love the DeAndre Ayton one, but I think Jay Crowder and Alec Burks put the Bulls in a reverse position. I just don't think that really helps the Bulls elevate. Jay Crowder, where is he going to play? Because you have Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan already on the wings, and you have a young guy in Patrick Williams who deserves all of the minutes in the world. So bringing in Jay Crowder, he fits where? You're not going to play Zach LaVine at point guard. Neither is DeMar. So where does Patrick Williams align in this? I think bringing in somebody like Ayton, who's still young and can maybe, grow with a change of scenery and just give y'all a different look in a different direction would be the answer. Trying to hold on to the DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine duo and Vucevic, I think it's too much. The writing is on the wall. The Lonzo Ball thing hurts you a lot. You've already added some great talent around these guys like Caruso, Patrick Williams. It's just not there. So I think instead of retooling, completely reshuffle the deck, go in a different direction, DeAndre Ayton would be a great start. You still have Patrick Williams, Ayo, Dalen Terry. You just have to call it quits. But trying to stretch this out can only make this a little uglier for your future. Next, we got the Cleveland Cavaliers. Their trade targets, Tim Hardaway Jr., Josh Richardson, and Gary Harris. I think all three of those guys are perfect. The Cavs have interest in Hardaway, according to Chris Fedora of Cleveland.com. A move that would add another shot-making wing to the roster. The veteran guard/forward is averaging 16.5 points, 3.8 rebounds, and shooting 40.5% from three since being moved into the Dallas Mavericks starting lineup, and will be a candidate to start at small forward for the Cleveland as well. Richardson and Harris also bring some three-point shooting to the Cavs, as well as defensive versatility, and should be readily available from San Antonio and Orlando Magic teams still in rebuild mode. Like I said, I love those trade targets, and I believe any of those three guys get moved to the Cleveland Cavaliers, they have a much better chance of having a deep run in the playoffs come June. But man, this team is come the summer, come May or June. But those 3 targets are beautiful. It's all about what they would have to give up because, again, Cleveland ain't got the best stuff to trade away. Maybe Karis LeVert gets you one of these guys. I'm not sure. Maybe second round in Karis LeVert. I don't know. But I love those trade targets. That's probably the best list of trade targets I've seen thus far. The Dallas Mavericks, their trade targets are Mike Conley, Kobe White, and Alex Caruso. I really do love the Alex Caruso and Mike Conley one. I don't know about the Kobe White situation. With Kemba Walker now gone, the Mavs should still be on the lookout for ball handlers who can lessen Luka Doncic's offensive load. Dallas has an offensive rating of 121 with Doncic on the floor this season, a number that plummets to 106 when he sits per cleaning the glass. Conley will be a stabilizing force at point guard, able to play with or without Doncic, given his ball handling and off-ball shooting skills. He would bring 73 games of playoff experience, and he ranks 8th in the NBA this season with 7.6 assists per game. White could be a buy low option to invest in, and he's still only 22 years old, while Caruso would help beef up the defense that ranks just 22nd overall this season. I love Caruso because I know he fit perfect with what Jason Kidd wants to do defensively. Him and Josh Green could really get some things done when they play some minutes together. I also love the Mike Conley situation because, yes, he plays with the ball, without the ball, and if Doncic has to sit in any of the second half games or if he has to go to the bench, you have a trustworthy point guard floor general who's going to make Jason Kidd feel a lot relaxed and patient with Luka and can give him some rest between games or during games. So I like that. The Kobe White option, obviously, like they said, is a buy low guy that's still only 22 years old. May not really have to give up much to get him. I can get, but I think the other 2 names give them realistic chances in the playoffs, which is what they're really trying to do. Kobe White is like a future guy who maybe can do some things in a couple years, while the other 2 options can impact you right now come playoff time. We got the Denver Nuggets. Their trade targets, Kenrich Williams, Matisse Thybulle, Nerlens Noel. A 23rd ranked defense has held back a 2nd ranked offense, which means Denver needs to be on the hunt for players who can get stops no matter what the position. Thybulle isn't much of an offensive threat, but he's an athletic wing who's just 25 years old. Jokic and DeAndre Jordan aren't stopping anyone at the rim, so bringing in Nerlens Noel from the Detroit Pistons will give them a shot-blocking threat in the middle. We already know what Kenrich Williams brings. His defense is 43-point-something% from 3. Nerlens Noel is a great option. I look at this Denver Nuggets team, and the one thing I always see when I watch them or look at their roster is the fact that they don't have a reliable backup big. They got an incredible bench, a bunch of different pieces who are versatile. They can shoot, they can run, they do a bunch of different things. Adding Nerlens Noel, to me, boosts this roster up a lot. I like this team a lot better knowing that Nerlens Noel is coming off that bench to defend the rim. So I think Nerlens Noel is the ideal target for them. And to be honest, it shouldn't really cost them too much to get him away from Detroit. So hopefully they can make that happen. I think that's the best guy for them in that trade target list. The Detroit Pistons, we got Obi Toppin, Cam Reddish, and Jason Preston. The Pistons should be taking hard down the stretch with no Cade Cunningham, shopping veterans like Bojan Bogdanovic, Alec Burks, and Nerlens Noel while looking to take on untapped young talent from playoff hopeful teams. The New York Knicks would make an ideal trade partner. Julius Randle's strong play means Toppin isn't going to land a starting job anytime soon, so the Pistons should check on the athletic forward's availability. The same can be said for Reddish, who's been out of the Knicks rotation for over a month. Add in Preston, an intriguing fit, a 6'4 ball handler who gives this backcourt even more size. He's been buried on a veteran Los Angeles Clippers team, yet could play a real role in Detroit this season with Cunningham's sideline. The one thing I would say is Jason Preston will be coming to a team that's already got so many different guards, and they potentially could get a top 2, top 3 pick, which could get them Scoot Henderson, and that would make the backcourt even more crowded because of how Killian Hayes has played. I like the Obi Toppin fit. I like it. It can fit with those guards. They can be up and down, fast pace. Him and Jalen Duran, you got Isaiah Stewart. They would have a bunch of different looks that could go there. Obviously, there's never too many things. There's no such thing as too many wings in the NBA. So Cam Reddish, I think, fits that culture and environment a lot better than the Knicks, especially if they're going to be looking to move Sadiq Bey like we've heard. So I think those are 2 great trade candidates and trade targets. And I think the fact that we've done business with them, we being the Knicks, makes it a lot easier for them to contact us and get one of these guys, if not both. The Golden State Warriors, they trade targets Kelly Olynyk, Jakob Poeltl, Mike Muscala. The Warriors need to end the James Wiseman experiment and shop their high-ceiling center for someone who can actually help them win now. Olynyk will give them his 3-point shooting and passing. Looney and Draymond can't provide. Muscala would offer similar floor spacing. Poeltl is the best defensive option of the 3, someone who's constantly challenging shots and making the right play on both ends of the ball. I think Jakob Poeltl can go there to Golden State and play a very, very similar role that Andrew Bogut played for them. He would be a younger version of Andrew Bogut, a guy who can play at the elbows, make any type of pass, defend the rim, rebound, dunk the basketball, and call it a day. And I think James Wiseman potentially could get the deal done. The only thing is, are the Warriors actually going to make a move? We can talk about so many trade targets for them and so many guys that could fit, but are they actually going to move the chips into the middle of the table and make a move? They've had the ability to make moves over the last few years, and they really haven't when it comes to the young talent of James Wiseman, Kuminga, and Moody. They're just, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. But I hope they make a move because Poeltl, again, like he would be for the Nets, will be a very good fit for the Warriors. The Houston Rockets, Onyeka Okongwu, Peyton Pritchard, and Jason Preston. Houston's 10 wins are the lowest total in the NBA this season, and moving veteran wing Eric Gordon at the deadline would help the Rockets secure a top selection in the 2023 draft. But there's plenty of young offensive talent on his roster. Adding a defensive-minded big man to pair with Şengün in the front court and pursuing another pass-first guard could help as well. With Clint Capella under contract with the Atlanta Hawks until 2025, Houston should check on the availability of Okongwu. The 22-year-old is averaging 9.1 points, 7 rebounds, and 1 block in 24 minutes. Pritchard and Preston are both young guards, not receiving much run in their current teams that could be brought in to help set the table for players like Green, Porter, and Jabari Smith Jr. I agree. This would be a much better fit for Jason Preston than a team like the Pistons. I also love the idea of Okongwu, but again, what do the Rockets have that would pry Okongwu away from the Hawks? Because Eric Gordon ain't going to get it done. So I think more realistic options are probably Peyton Pritchard or Jason Preston. I like the idea of Okongwu, but I don't think they have enough to get him from the Hawks. The Indiana Pacers, their trade targets, John Collins, Kyle Kuzma, and Jay Crowder. While originally thought to be sellers at the deadline, a 23-18 record may actually have Indiana looking to win now help instead, especially at the power forward position. Collins could thrive in a fresh start with the Pacers by running pick and roll with Tyrese Halliburton. A good three-point shooter and is still young enough, 25, to grow with his core. Kuzma is putting up a career-high 21 points per game for the Washington Wizards, while Crowder could bring some defense and outside shoot to this club. We're just going to see Crowder with every team that's in a playoff mix. I think the John Collins deal is perfect. Like they said, pick-and-roll partner for Tyrese Halliburton, especially if you keep Miles Turner. He's in the corner. They're doing their pick-and-roll. Collins is a lob threat, a pick-and-pop threat, and you won't have to worry about too much of the defense because you will have Miles Turner behind him. And I think that would be a good bonus going forward. I love that fit a lot. Obviously, Kyle Kuzma makes a lot of sense, but I think John Collins and his contract already being secured and putting him with Tyrese Halliburton in a new situation, you might get something that we're not getting from John Collins in Atlanta. And that may be a low sale that you get back, and it may be a big investment. So I would love to see the Pacers go that direction. Next, we got the Clippers. Their trade targets, Miles Turner, Alex Caruso, Mason Plumlee. I think all of those guys are great options. The Clippers are interested in Turner if the Pacers still make him available. Zubac has been a solid starting center. Turner helps bring an offensive dynamic to the team with his outside shooting. He's also one of the NBA's perimeter shot blockers. They need that. The Clippers need a guy who can stretch the floor and allow them to still play that small ball type of way while also not giving up a lot on the defensive end. That's been their brand and what they do when it comes playoff time, and has helped propel and elevate them a lot of times in series. Adding Miles Turner would make that even more OP or crazy. Caruso would be the perfect glue piece in his backcourt with passing, defense, and three-point shooting, able to play alongside John Wall, Reggie Jackson, Norman Powell, and others. I agree. I love all of these targets. I think Mason Plumlee is another good one in case you can't get any of these two, just to give you some type of punch off the bench at the center position. My only thing is, what would it take for the Clippers to get a Miles Turner or Alex Caruso? What do they have or are willing to give up that the Pacers or Bulls would be interested in? But other than that question, I love all three targets, and I think they shouldn't. It ain't like, oh, they need to go out and get one of those three guys. The Lakers, their targets are Bojan Bogdanovic, Buddy Hield, Doug McDermott, all names that we've heard the entire offseason and this season. So I'm not even going to read any of this. Of course, they should get Bojan Bogdanovic. They've been trying to get him since before he was traded to the Pistons. Yes, Buddy Hield would give them incredible three-point shooting. And yes, Doug McDermott would do the same. I think the most realistic option is Doug McDermott because the Spurs may not have as high of a high asking price. But Bojan, I just don't understand. If they couldn't get him then, they probably won't get him now. And Buddy Hield, same thing. If they didn't get him back then when they could have got him and Miles Turner, I doubt that they'll get him now. The Lakers are looking to be more quieter at the deadline, I believe, and I think Doug McDermott is a quieter move than Buddy Hield or Bojan Bogdanovic. So I'm thinking realistically, Doug McDermott, give you some type of shooting at a low price. So I guess that direction. But other than that, I don't see the Lakers doing anything crazy. Next, we got the Memphis Grizzlies. Jay Crowder. Again, Gary Harris and Alec Burks. 3 names that we've seen before. Again, I'm not going to speak on these guys because we've read about them in other write-ups. The Memphis Grizzlies, I agree. They're saying here they shouldn't go too all in on an all-star caliber player because they're already high in the West with what they have. So adding veteran presence would be great. And I think Alec Burks could fit perfectly here. Obviously, Jay Crowder has played in Memphis before. He's going to help any playoff team. And yes, Gary Harris is the same. He's been shooting a 3-ball really well. Versatile defender. Alec Burks is a combo guard / forward who can guard a bunch of different positions that give you a scoring punch off the bench perfectly for playoff time. But what they have, all of these guys fit perfectly. It's just about what you have to give up to get one of these guys. Whoever costs the least is probably who I'm going to get if I'm the Grizzlies. Next, we got the Miami Heat. Trade targets John Collins, Kyle Kuzma, and Mo Bamba. I love all of these fits as well. While Miami has been bitten by injuries all season, simply counting on a healthy roster to make a run to the finals isn't enough. The Heat should think big at first, looking for power forwards who can stretch the floor alongside Bam Adebayo and give this 24th ranked offense a little bit more juice. Collins is an ideal fit for the Atlanta Hawks, who would agree to help the Heat. He could solidify the position for years to come and make sure Jimmy Butler doesn't have to defend fours in the playoffs. I know Jimmy will love that. Kuzma in his scoring, Bamba in his shot blocking and three-point shooting will be upgrades at power forward as well. I don't know if I like Mo Bamba at power forward. That just doesn't even sound right. Kuzma doesn't really give me Heat vibes. I like John Collins. It's just about what they could give up. Miami Heat are in a difficult situation because they don't have really many options as far as trades. So that's what makes these situations sticky because they would have to make the money match for Collins. They're not giving up Hero. They're not giving up Bam, and they want to keep Jimmy. Don't know and highly doubt that the Hawks would want Kyle Lowry back. So it's like, how do you make these trades work? But I do think John Collins is the best option for the Miami Heat. The Bucks, their trade targets Jordan Clarkson, Kenrich Williams, and Josh Richardson. I love Jordan Clarkson because they need the scoring punch off the bench, which is definitely what they're saying right there. Kenrich Williams gives them defense, so does Josh Richardson with three-point shooting. I think both of those names fit like a glove to what the Milwaukee Bucks have been known to do. I think, though, that the Bucks need a guy like Jordan Clarkson. I think they need a guy who can isolate, take crazy shots, make crazy shots, and be a legitimate punch off the bench. Grayson Allen, Kenrich Williams, Josh Richardson, some of the names that we've seen thrown around, those are guys that are just going to defend and then catch and make shots for Giannis. We've seen times where the Bucks get cold from 3. You know the saying, if you live by the 3, you die by the 3. And while we still haven't seen Chris Middleton, adding somebody like Jordan Clarkson can come off that bench and really create his own shot without the help of Giannis or needing Giannis would be a very big punch from them that we haven't seen since Giannis has emerged into the best player in the NBA. The Minnesota Timberwolves, target list, Kyle Lowry, Patrick Beverley back, and Jay Crowder. Again, Jay Crowder just going to be on every team's list. The Wolves have one of the best rosters in the West on paper, but could use some more veteran leadership in the locker room to make sure everyone is playing up to their potential. Lowry will be a perfect fit as a 36-year-old brings 107 games with the playoff experience and a championship ring to the table while still playing at a solid level. The Heat have used him way too much, while Minnesota could only need Lowry to serve as a table setter and leader next to Karl-Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, and Rudy Gobert. With the reports that Beverly would love to return to Minnesota, the veteran guard could spark an emotional turnaround in his previous home. Crowder could be used as a 3 or 4 in 1 or 2 big lineups, bring a versatility and playoff experience to this roster. I love the Kyle Lowry idea. My only thing, again, with the Heat, what do the Timberwolves give to the Heat? Do the Heat want D'Angelo Russell? Because if I'm Minnesota, I'm keeping everything else. I like McDaniels. I like Edwards. I'm obviously keeping Rudy, and I'm keeping Cat. So now, what are we giving you? That's the only thing about these deals. Patrick Beverley would be another good option, but does Patrick Beverley really come in and turn things around? I think Lowry has a better, a chance of doing that. And then Jay Crowder is Jay Crowder. He's going to help every team, but I think they really need guard play. So I'm leaning towards Lowry for the Timberwolves over a guy like Jay Crowder. Next, we got the New Orleans Pelicans. Their trade targets, Mo Bamba, Zach Collins, and DeLon Wright. The Pelicans don't have a lot of weaknesses, but they could use another versatile big man in the front court, a backcourt stopper for depth overall. I'm going to disagree. I think you give more rope and more minutes and more opportunity to Dyson Daniels, even though it's early in his career. When we talk about a backcourt stopper, I think he's done a damn good job. Also, Zach Collins is having a really good year, like we talked about earlier, but I think he mirrors exactly what Larry Nance is giving you. So all signs point to a guy like Mo Bamba when it comes to the Pelicans. The floor spacing he would give you with the shot blocking, and he can give you spacing so Zion can do his thing underneath the basket. All of these other guys, I think it just wouldn't make too much sense. You got Alvarado, you got CJ McCollum, you have Dyson Daniels. Don't bring anybody else in to really get in the way of that. And you also don't want to give up too much. So I could see some type of swap with the Magic of something that doesn't take anyone out of your rotation too much. You just throw Mo Bamba into the rotation for, floor space and rim protection. My New York Knicks, our trade targets, Bradley Beal, Zach LaVine, OG Anunoby. Oh my gosh. Mwah, mwah, mwah. That's a great list. Round of applause. While other teams may only want to add something minor, teams may only want to add some minor upgrades here and there, the Knicks shouldn't be afraid to go star chasing. Few teams have the kind of draft capital the Knicks possess, and even a strong play of Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson has New York just 7th in the East. Adding a premier scorer like Beal or LaVine is at least worth checking the price on for the Knicks, taking this offense to an elite level. If the asking price is too high, Anunoby may actually be a better fit overall. Plugging the defensive juggernaut into a lineup that features Brunson, Barrett, Randle, and Mitchell Robinson will give this core plenty of size, scoring, and now an elite defender on the perimeter. Don't be shy, New York. Make some calls. I agree, damn it. OG Anunoby would fit perfect. That starting five right there of Jalen Brunson, RJ Barrett, OG Anunoby, Julius Randle, and Mitchell Robinson. Bro, if that happened, I would be the happiest Knicks fan in the fucking world. In the world. I love the Bradley Beal fit. He's super expensive. I love Zach LaVine. The knee issue is too recent for me. He's been playing a lot better in the last 5 to 7 games, but the knee issue is still scary on a fresh new contract. OG doesn't have as large of a contract, defensive juggernaut, and I think he fits well with what Thibodeau loves to do. Plain and simple, Knicks make a move, please. Next, we got the OKC Thunder. Their trade target list, James Wiseman, Sadiq Bey, Cam Reddish, all young players in the front court and on the wing. That's all OKC needs to be doing this trade deadline. Pick up the phone and look for youthful players in the front court and on the wing. It says, while it wouldn't be outlandish to see the Thunder actually be buyers at 18 and 22, staying the course and rebuilding for at least one more year is probably the best path for now. There's a ton of talent in his backcourt already, so OKC should be pursuing bigs and wings who can grow alongside Shea, Giddey, and company. Company is Trey Mann. And Jalen Williams. Wiseman would give the Thunder a potential franchise center to build around. You forgot about Chet that fast. And Bey can thrive at either forward position. Reddish upside remains intact, even if the Knicks weren't patient enough to tap into it. I love the Reddish. I love the Bey. Wiseman, I'm not mad at it if it's low. Warriors aren't going to give him away for low. Keep Chet. See what happens with your upcoming pick. You never know. You may get another guy. We'll see. But I don't think they should break their necks to try to go get James Wiseman, because if he was that easy to get, the Warriors would have been giving him away. So Sadiq Bey, Cam Reddish, those are the guys OKC. The Orlando Magic, Moses Moody, Matisse Thybulle, Isaac Okoro. Orlando may disagree, but there's enough big men on this roster for now. The Magic could use a few more high upside wings, especially if players like Gary Harris and Terrence Ross are moved at the deadline. 6'6", 7'1" wingspan. Moody fits Orlando's love for the big lineups, averaging 14 points on 50% shooting from deep and 3 starts. There's no reason this guy should have 3 starts. Moses Moody is a trade target. Again, the only thing about him is the same thing with all the young guys with the Warriors. Are they going to be willing to give him up? And if so, do the Warriors want Terrence Ross or Gary Harris? Probably not. So I don't know how you make that happen, but I love Moses Moody more than I love Matisse Thybulle and Isaac Okoro. The Magic need 3-point shooting next to Franz and Paolo and Markelle, not Isaac Okoro or Matisse Thybulle, if I'm just being honest. The Philadelphia 76ers, Terrence Ross, Jay Crowder, Garrison Matthews. The Philly is already loaded with talent, yet adding one more wing who can play in the postseason would help the team's overall depth, especially since Harden and Maxey have already missed significant times with injuries thus far. Ross would be an ideal scorer off the bench and is shooting 37.5% from 3. That's the guy for me. Obviously, if you can get Crowder, great. Garrison Matthews gets you shooting. Terrence Ross gets you real scoring off that bench, and I think he's a name and a guy that in the playoffs could explode for a crazy performance nobody's seen coming and could save you a game or two. He has that type of scoring. I think he's been ready for playoff basketball for so long now. So Terrence Ross is my guy. Obviously, if the 76ers could get Jay Crowder, he would fit perfect there. But I love Terrence Ross because I don't think it would cost too much for Philly to go and get him, especially if Matisse Thybulle was on Philly's target or if on Orlando's target list and Ross is on Philly's. Make that swap right now. Down to our last few, we have the Phoenix Suns. Their trade target list: Bojan, Kyle Kuzma, Eric Gordon. Eric Gordon has been linked to the Suns for so long. I remember when he first left, he was trying to leave the Pelicans. He signed an offer sheet with the Suns, and I think they matched it. So he's been trying to get to Phoenix for a while now. The Suns' depth has been tested as of late with injuries to players like Devin Booker, Chris Paul, and Cam Johnson. Phoenix shouldn't lose hope yet. They're still a championship caliber team when healthy. The Suns have draft assets to go after stars like Bogdanovic and Kuzma, both capable of starting power forward for Phoenix and improving an offense that ranks dead last in the NBA over the last 10 games. Gordon could still fill roles of a scorer and a playmaker off the bench, helping out Booker and Paul miss time down the stretch. Kuzma, Bogdanovic. Eric Gordon is a nice name. I get it, but those two fit 10 times better. They can literally come in and play starting power forward for you, stretch the floor, be a legitimate scoring option, take some pressure off Mikal Bridges to have to score a lot more, even though he's been doing a fine job. I say go get those two names. The Trailblazers: Josh Richardson, Andre Drummond, and Nerlens Noel. Richardson is averaging 11, 2, and 3 and shooting 35% from 3 and can defend both shooting guards and small forwards. He'll be a strong 6 to 8 man in this rotation. Drummond leads the NBA with 28.5 total rebounds percentage this season, and Noel could provide Portland with a true rim protector off the bench. They got to get Josh Richardson. Damian Lillard and Anthony Simons can't guard anybody. They need some perimeter defensive help. Josh Hart, Jeremy Grant is starting. They're trying their best, but Josh Richardson is a legitimate guy who can guard 1 to 2s to 3s. They need help there badly, and bringing in a guy like Richardson who can do that and also provide three-point shooting to space the floor and play off of Dame and Ant will be a big help. So I think Josh Richardson is the most ideal target out of these three guys for Portland. Sacramento, again, Jay Crowder, Mo Bamba, Kenrich Williams. In this situation, I love Jay Crowder, but because Jay Crowder is such a hot commodity, I'm going to go Kenrich Williams. Mo Bamba is even good because I think you can sneaky play some minutes of Mo and DeMontis. So I like all three guys here. It's just about, again, who costs the least for Sacramento because they have such a good team. They put something so good together here. You don't want to give up too early on anybody that's been a part of that rotation. I love Davion Mitchell there. I love Malik Monk. I love Harrison Barnes. Obviously, you love Keegan Murray. So what could they get or give to get one of these guys? Kenrich Williams may be someone that's more realistic without giving anybody up from your rotation because Crowder and Mo Bamba is probably going to cost a little bit more. The San Antonio Spurs, their trade targets James Wiseman, Cam Thomas, and Jackson Hayes. This represents a grand opportunity to turn a team underused youngsters into a real rotation players and possible stars. Wiseman and Pirtle swap could make sense for both teams. Duh. And bringing Hayes back to Texas in a bigger role could help jumpstart his career. I would love to see Jackson Hayes with a bigger role because he has played a lot better. And Thomas' playing time has actually decreased in year 2, down to just 13.6 minutes a game. Giving the 21-year-old green light in San Antonio would be must-watch TV every night. I like Cam Thomas there, but is he going to have that much freedom where he just has a green light? There's so many guards there that do so many different things, from Trey Jones being a floor general, Blake Wesley, Malachi Branham. Where does Cam Thomas fit? And they still have their picks for the next draft that they're probably going to have a high pick in. So I would much rather see a James Wiseman and Jakob Poeltl swap than Cam Thomas and Jackson Hayes. The Toronto Raptors, Zach LaVine, Miles Turner, and Luke Kennard. No team is more interested in heading into the deadline than Toronto, a previous title hopeful group that's fallen to 17 and 23. The Raptors should start at the top, checking on the availability of LaVine to help inject some life into an offense this fall. I just don't know what they have for Zach. What are they giving the Bulls? Because if you give up OG, this team ain't the same. The Bulls don't want Fred, and you're not giving up Pascal or Scotty Barnes. So it's like, it's LaVine injects a lot of offense there, but then you lose so much defense with Anunoby. Miles Turner is in a big lineup is more massive. It brings so much needed floor space in. What do you give up? The Pacers damn sure don't want Fred. So you have to give up OG to get these guys. Luke Kennard gives you better three-point shooting, so your three-point percentage ranks 29th, and you probably would have to give up less. But the Zach LaVine and Miles Turner means you're going a different direction because you're giving up something significant in OG. And at that point, I think if you give up OG, you should start to look at Pascal and Fred and just go in a different direction with Scotty Barnes. You have Gary Trent as well, but again, I think you need much more to get Miles Turner and Zach LaVine. The Utah Jazz, Saddiq Bey, Peyton Pritchard, and Kobe White. Where's Bey at? Saddiq Bey, 23, could thrive in a bigger offensive role in Utah, while Pritchard and White are both talented ball handlers in need of more opportunity. I like Bey there because, like Lauri Markkanen and some other guys, we've seen him take humongous steps. He could fit that. He could fit that mold, especially if they keep Conley. Conley, Clarkson, Malik Beasley, and Kelly Olynyk should all be shopped over the next month. That's the only thing. None of those names will intrigue Detroit. And at this point, Utah is keeping all of their picks. So how do you get a Saddiq Bey if you're Utah? And then last but not least, the Washington Wizards, OG Anunoby, John Collins, and Mike Conley Jr. The Wizards are towing the line between buyers or sellers, and they should probably take calls from the teams to explore both possibilities. If there were ever a more perfect fit to place between players like Bradley Beal and Kristaps Porzingis, it will be Anunoby and his elite defensive chops. Not only would such an acquisition help propel Washington towards the playoffs, but this would hurt the Toronto Raptors, who share a 17-23 record as well. Pulling off a Collins, Kyle Kuzma swap would make more sense, and adding Conley could be an upgrade over Monte Morris as a starting point guard. This is a messy roster overall, with too many underperforming former first-round picks and no true superstar. Sorry, Brad, to lean on. Moves need to be made one way or another. I agree. They seem like a team that would take John Collins for sure, but OG Anunoby would be the guy. I just don't know outside of picks, they really don't have anything that Toronto would like. Like, Toronto don't want Rui or Denny for OG. Like, you would have to attach a few picks. Mike Conley I like a lot, but what are you giving Utah? I mean, I guess you can give Utah some of that youthful talent, I guess. But they may need to just fold their cards and really trade Bradley Beal and get this thing going. Beal is gone. Trade Kuzma. Porzingis you may can resign. I don't know, but like, try to get you a top 5 pick. This team needs a top 5 pick. That's all we have. Shout out to my guy, Greg Schwartz, one more time for the article. Shout out to BR. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all watching. Y'all let me know in the comments what y'all think of these trades and these trade targets. I know a lot of y'all have a lot of different favorite teams, favorite players. Do y'all like the trade targets? Are there any that they left off? I think Jay Crowder hilariously being linked to every playoff team is perfect. I love the fits that they have for OG Anunoby. I would love him to come to the Knicks. We saw some Zach LaVine, some DeAndre Ayton. There was some big names in there. John Collins has some interesting fits. I love the Pacers one. Y'all let me know in the comments. I will see y'all next time. I'm out. Peace.